Ladies and gentlemen, this interview is brought to you by Burn Up Coaching and Becoming Your Greatest Possible Self and the 21-Day Challenge. If you're an entrepreneur or a high achiever and you feel stuck, you feel overwhelmed, tired, exhausted, or you just know that there's another level for you to tap into, then the 21-Day Challenge might be the perfect solution for you. Over the course of 21 days, you'll get clear on your purpose, your vision for your life, learn how to break that down into bite-sized steps, have daily accountability and check-ins, and high touch. It's like super personal, one-on-one with me, and weekly deep dive calls to make sure that you're uncovering the limiting beliefs that are keeping you stopped or stuck or self-sabotaging. And after these 21 days, you will accomplish your top goal, your top priority over those 21 days. You'll dial in your daily habits and nighttime rituals and all the things that are most important to you to stay on track with your greatest possible self. If you're interested and committed, send me a message, chris@beyourgps.com, or find me on Facebook and let me know you're ready to go for the 21-day challenge. Super looking forward to having you in your next 21-day challenge program. Now, for the iTunes review of the week, it is by, who is it by? I have it right here. It's coming up. Pulling it up. It's by Crystal Ray. And Crystal says, Chris is amazing. He's absolutely awesome, and I really love his energy. He's truly passionate about what he does, and I love what makes this show unique. Such an inspirational podcast. So if you haven't had a chance to do that yet, give us a review. Go ahead and go to beyourgps.com/iTunes and give us a review there, or search Becoming Your Greatest Possible Self on iTunes, and you'll be able to find us like that. So thanks so much in advance for doing that. I appreciate you. We appreciate the feedback, and it helps us keep growing and going into our greatest possible self. Let us know what you want to see more of, etc., etc., etc. Thank you so much. I love you, and I appreciate you. Ryan is about to come on, so make sure you stay tuned all the way through this interview. It's going to be a rockin' interview, sharing the gold, the wisdom, the insights, and some seriously powerful transformations, powerful overcoming of situations, circumstances, and events. This dude is a transformation master. Anything that comes at him in his way, that tries to stop him, that tries to keep him down, that tries to derail him in life, he totally just conquers. He totally overcomes. He totally breaks through and really steps into his true power, his greatest possible self. And he's going to be sharing about that today. So make sure you stay tuned. Make sure you get something to write on, something to take notes on, because he's going to be sharing the gold. Stay tuned. Ryan Krech is a mindset coach and a motivational speaker who's passionate about helping people discover what's interfering with their personal and professional development. He loves to empower others to break through their fears with courage and faith, allowing them to become more confident while experiencing huge growth, happiness, and love that is definitely 100% waiting for them. And we are absolutely blessed to have Ryan with us today. Ryan, you ready to rock this, bro?
I am, man. What's up, Chris?
Dude, just being blessed, baby. Blessed.
Absolutely. All day, every day.
That's right.
And what an intro. Thank you so much for those kind remarks and having me on here. I really appreciate the invite.
You're welcome, man. You're a superstar, Ryan. Grateful to have you here. I know my audience is definitely going to learn a ton from you. I already have been inspired, and our pre-interview call is just like super, super moving, man. Just hearing your journey and your story and getting to know you more. I know you're destined and really creating big, big things, big impact in the world. So thanks for taking the time to share with our audience how we can become our greatest possible self with you, man. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Awesome. So let's dive right into the theme of the day, which is defining moments. And, I know you have some really powerful defining moments to go into, and I want to, save those for a bit from now. I want you to share a little bit about yourself and what you stand for, and then we'll go back into the journey. But just as an overview, those defining moments, what does that mean to you? What does that concept mean to you, and how has it impacted your life?
Wow, great question. So defining moments I think they're very critical steps in the journey, in the path, where you just have those realizations that either something, you're on the wrong path, or something's not right, or that you were created for more. And for me, that's what it was. It was all three of those. It was the stone. It was taking a step and then falling in the creek and going, wait, is this supposed to happen? I didn't think I was supposed to get wet. It was just stepping here and here and here, and I'm face down and like covered in algae and everything else. And that was one of the biggest points in my life, because that led me to the right thing. So I think those are very encouraging and they're very challenging, but they're always opportunities where we can grow and we can give and we can ultimately serve others, which is, I think that I know it's what you're doing, it's what I'm doing, and it's what all these other great individuals that you're having on the show are doing. And it's just really, it's making a positive impact in this world, through our journey, through our story, through our pain, and through our progress. It's sharing that, hoping to inspire maybe it's just one person, but if that one person has the aha moment like I had, and it can totally break out of this thing, then it's all worth it, you know?
Mm. Wow, that's powerful, man. It really is required. These challenges are going to happen on our journey to greatness, so to speak, on our journey to being our greatest possible self. It's like we have to be faced with challenges and tests to grow and to expand into the person who can do these things, like impacting millions of people's lives around the world. Like that requires growth. It requires being able to overcome the obstacles that are placed in our path, and we never know what those are going to be. We never know, which creek we're going to land in with which algae and which, moss and all that kind of stuff. But it's definitely going to happen. It's life is gonna knock us down, and it's about how we respond to those things. So, you're really powerful in your speaking, in your communication, and you're a motivational speaker, you're a mindset coach, you're doing all sorts of amazing things. So tell us a little bit more about that and what you stand for specifically with what you're all about.
Absolutely. I think my journey more so started kind of like what I stand for is I want people to understand how amazing they really are.
Mm.
I had the worst self-esteem. I grew up as a chubby, overweight, well, let's just get real with it, fat kid.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of pain in that. I can kind of look back at it now, but I'm still 245 pounds. I've still got a midsection, and trying to find the six pack. I've been trying to find it for 44 years. I've never seen it yet, but
it's in there somewhere. It's in there somewhere.
It speaks to me every now and then.
Right.
But in that, there was a lot of bullying, and there was a lot of painful stuff that it was working through and looking back going, why do these things happen? But knowing now that this confidence that's found, I say that it's found within, right? I had to look inward because I wasn't getting it from anybody else. I was always wanting everybody else's opinion, their approvals. I want them to love me. I want them to like me. You're still checking the Facebook likes or the Instagram, how many, and all that stuff. And that's great because that's the humanistic side of it. But where it really resonated with me was I found my confidence through Christ, through God. And it was him saving my life, saying, listen, you're going through all this for a reason. It's not happening to you. It's happening for you. And the moment that you realize that you can't fail, and actually that's what was told to me in a meditation of 1 week before my event, Heart-Led Soul Driven. He said, there is no way you can fail if you show up. And that blew my mind because, when God says that to you, I don't argue. I'm like, oh my gosh, wow, this is the most powerful thing I've ever heard. I only need his approval from here on out. And that just gave me this opening to go, I can do anything. Like I actually am equipped to do anything. And it led me on to believing more in myself. And the only way to really do that was to be thankful for the gift of life, thankful for the gift of walking through a grocery store and telling someone how amazing they are. And then they look at you like they've never been told that before. And maybe they just believe in themselves for a moment. And my thing is, you asked that value piece, it's shifting moments into momentum for someone else to experience life on a different scale.
That's beautiful, man. So it's really just what is the essence of life? Why are we here? And you really got a grasp of that. As long as you show up, then you're like living your purpose. As long as you're doing your best, as long as you trust and have faith and kind of surrender to the process, then everything else will work out. And you're all about teaching people that that's the way to live and to step into their greatness and turn those moments of inspiration or moments of fulfillment or moments of love into that momentum, into that lifestyle so that they can experience that all the time. That's beautiful, man.
Yes, absolutely.
Wow, that's incredible. So that's what you're doing today, man, and you're rocking it. You're like living it, eating, sleeping, breathing.
I love it.
You're rocking it. You just rocked an event recently. Like I saw the after party, so to speak, the trailer and all that good stuff. It was really, really cool. And I know that things weren't always this awesome from our personal conversation, and you didn't always see that you were so amazing. So let's go back into the journey and talk about some of those challenging moments, those defining moments, those growth moments where you really had to step into someone bigger, a bigger set of shoes to be able to make it through it, man.
Absolutely. And that happened at 3:43 in the morning. And that's when I went on my knees and asked God to take my life because I was done. I was sick and tired of being sick and tired at best. I was in physically and emotional pain, and I didn't know what was going on. See, if we backtrack just a little bit, at 10 p.m., my wife and kids, they go to bed, and all of a sudden I get real sick in my stomach. And I worked at Vanderbilt University at the time, and in their hospitality management department, and I just figured, kids don't wash their hands, and there's a stomach virus going around. And then about an hour later, I start getting cramps all over my body. So like my entire body is literally cramping up to the point where I can't even hardly walk. And I was too scared to go inside and let my wife know, because I have no idea what's happening, And so, and especially that masculine energy wants to be prideful and not ask for help and just figure it out,
Yep.
So I'm walking up and down my driveway as best as I can. And when the cramps came in, I was just like actually sitting down, just not knowing what to do. And then all of a sudden it was like somebody took a blowtorch all over to my body, especially on my arms and my legs. And I was just thinking, I was like, God, forgive me, whatever I've done. I don't know how I've pissed you off, but I've made you angry. I need help. It's like, stop this. And that went on for about an hour. And so I'm in this process for like 4.5 hours. And then all of a sudden, like the fourth stage of this was like bugs crawling all over me, like thousands and thousands of bugs coming out of my skin, along with the blowtorch, along with the cramps, along with all the stuff. And that's when I went on my knees and I was like, that's it. I can't. I don't know what's going on, but this is the end for me. Like, I have nothing else. And in that brief moment when I went on my knees and I asked him to take my life, I heard his voice, everything, all the pain went away completely out of my body. And he said, son, I'm not going to take your life. I'm going to use it. And about 15 seconds later, after experiencing nothing, no pain, nothing out of my body, everything comes flooding back to me, just like a flood. And right as it hit, I remembered that I didn't take my 10 p.m. pain medicine. See, I'd had spinal surgery 5 years previously, and I had a bunch of titanium in my spine. And so I was taking oxycodone 4 times a day, and I was taking Valium 3 times a day, and I was taking Ambien at nighttime to sleep, and I was smoking pot because I'd done that for 25 years. And I didn't know that I was addicted. So I was addicted to this medication, even though I was taking it exactly how the doctor prescribes. I was now realized that I was a slave. I was a prisoner to these pills. And that scared me enough to go, I got to figure this thing out. 7 days later, I still, for that week, I still didn't know what to do. And I went to, I left a meeting and I was real angry and I was just in my head about everything. And I was fixing to go to the same place. I was having an affair with this woman, and I had for like 25 plus years of my life. I was cheating on my soul with her, really. Her name is Wendy. I don't know if you've ever met her. She has red pigtails. She owns a hamburger joint, Wendy's. Well, anyway, so she fed me. I was an emotional eater. What I figured out about myself is when I was in my lowest, I looked for food. But when I was even celebration, I looked for food. And so all of these behavioral patterns started showing up in my life, very visible. And but in that moment, instead of taking a left that night, I looked directly across the street and it was a gym. And I knew in that moment, it was like God showed me all these things that I should be doing, like doing the event that I just put on and all these people that I was helping and coaching. And I knew that if I took a left and went to the same pattern of behavior that I was going to that was destructive, I would never achieve that dream. It was almost, that was that defining moment for me, really. And I took a right. And now 3 years later, I'm at the gym 7 days a week. It's something that I don't have to want to do anymore. It's just part of who I am. And I've lost almost 100 pounds, completely natural. It's just, I love life now and I have such an appreciation, but all of those the addictive behavioral patterns, the destructive patterns, they all led from childhood stuff, from trauma. And I didn't realize all of that stuff. Chris, I didn't even know that the personal development sector, so to speak, existed until like 6 years ago.
Wow.
I mean, I'm 44 years old. I just didn't know. I was in so much pain that I thought that being safe and small and mediocre and just barely surviving each day was my life. I had no idea that this was available. I really didn't. And so once I got a hold of that, I shifted those moments into a lot of momentum. And then all of a sudden, a great defining moment was for me as I remember me and my boys. I've got 2 kids and I've been married for 21 years this November.
Wow.
But
Congrats.
I've taken my 2 boys. We go into a Dillard's, right? It's a shopping area.
Mhm.
And I got to go get some jeans. Man, I was in the like big and tall apartment for the last 20 plus years of my life, right? 44 waist. 300, my highest was 342 pounds. I mean, we talk about really low and depressed. I was there. But I asked him, I said, where's the 42 waist pants? I was thinking maybe I've lost enough to get in the 42s. And he showed me and I put them on and these like, they're too big. And I was like, where's the 40s? And he goes, oh, sir, that's at the regular men's department. Wow. And I was like, oh, say that one more time. They're at the regular men's department. And I'm like, oh, just say it one more time, just one more time. And this guy's starting to actually feel this energy. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm a regular men's department wearing jean guy now. You know what I mean? This has never happened. And to come to find out, I'm at a 36 waist. Like I went from a 44 waist to a 36 waist. So I was just like, incredible. But that feeling that I was dancing around in the middle of the department store because I had achieved this lifelong dream of just making those right choices enough to get enough momentum to feel this way. Number one, I'm thankful that my kids got to see that. You know what I mean? Yeah. That they were like, we've never seen daddy like this. Like he is in his, he's happy. And it was so awesome. And, wow. And it was inspiring for me to be able to just to feel different,
Dude, that's so powerful. So powerful. So you shared a lot of really, really powerful gold nuggets there. You started off at this place of why me, like take this pain away from me, take me away from this pain, take me away from this world, whatever it takes to end it. And then you had the realization that it was because you hadn't taken your medicine, and you had the bigger realization that you were a slave to it, that you were trapped by these drugs, this system that our system places people into. And it's like, there's almost like no hope. There's almost like no way out unless people have this wake-up call. So you got that wake-up call, and you had a light at the end of the tunnel saying, it's not that you were going to be thrown away, but rather you were going to be used as a vessel, as a messenger, as someone who's carrying the message of God, of Christ, and being able to impact people's lives. So I really, really appreciate that. And then you started making those changes. Then you started really changing your life around, and coming from this place of not having any idea about personal development in the industry, and what was possible with it. You just took one step at a time. You just started showing up and consistently showing up again and again and again. And then boom, here you are, Ryan Krech, showing up, rocking the house, rocking events, and dude, you're like living it. You're living it. And you mentioned, that one of the best things that you did for your event was you trusted yourself. You trusted yourself to show up in exactly how you wanted to, and like learning from other people and other seminars and modeling them. That's great and all, but that wasn't your priority. That wasn't who you are and how you stood in integrity and your values and what you believed in to show up and give these people value. And I think that is super, super impressive. And I think there's a consistent flow in your life of trusting yourself, of showing up, of trusting God, of trusting that there's something, a bigger plan at work for you. That's awesome, man.
Yes. Yes. That faith thing, it's more difficult than I ever realized, but it was also being in the hospitality industry for 15 years going, that last year that I was in that industry, it felt like my soul was dying. Like every day that I would drive in, I didn't want to take a left because I was like, oh my gosh, I'm not meant to be here, but I don't know what I'm meant to do. And see, at the time, I was waking up at like 4 a.m. and I was going to the gym and I was doing the mindset work before I started my day. Then I was seeing clients from like 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. Then I was working in the hospitality industry from 10:30 a.m. until 7 p.m.
Wow.
Then I was coaching people from 7:30 until 11 p.m. And then I'm making notes, journaling until midnight, getting up and doing the whole thing over the next day. And this went on for a while before I was like, okay, I feel like I'm dying between 10:30 and 7. And I've got to make myself available to other people. And so that's when, and I just left that industry and they were great, but I just wasn't in a line with that. I was in line with my calling and not
Right.
with that. That season was over. That chapter it was over. So 6 months ago, yes, what happened was I left my safe and certain job. And after I did that, I went and took the title out of my truck, took a loan out from the bank, and funded this event. I'd been to a Tony Robbins event in 2016, but I didn't have a blueprint or a map. I didn't have any mentors or guides. I was just like, I want to do this so badly.
Wow.
And every meditation, or for a while, it was every meditation. It was a reassurance. Trust me, you're doing this.
Wow.
Just keep showing up. Just keep doing it. So I was like, okay, we're going to start advertising it. I don't know how to advertise or market, but we're just going to do this. And that's where, that the brand heart-led, soul-driven, that's where it really came from. It was, I'd made so many decisions in my head, like, whether it was being anxious or overthinking or doubting, or, I mean, for God's sakes, me and my wife would, hey, you want to go to dinner tonight? And we're like, sure. But if you're asking me, we may be at breakfast the next morning before I can make a decision on where we should go out to eat, because I didn't realize that I had that much ingrained turmoil within me of that pattern going, I'm scared to be wrong. And that's what it was. I was scared to death to be wrong. And it's because I was scared to death to let my dad down.
Wow.
And I didn't realize that was such a source of pain. And that was a huge conversation for me to have. And I had to have it with him before the event. So literally the morning of the event, it was almost like the one criteria I had to have was I had to have a conversation with him. So I called him up out of the blue and I said, I got to talk to you. And I told him, I said, listen, I love you, but this is not for you. It's for me. And I said, Dad, I love you. And I'm thankful that you weren't the dad I needed. You weren't the dad I wanted, because we weren't close. We argued all the time and he didn't know how to express his love to me. So I was always working really hard for that love and I never got it. He didn't know how to love me. I didn't realize that he didn't know how to. He wasn't taught how to love me by his parents. So he's just a lost hurt little boy too. So I released me from that, and by saying, I'm thankful for you because I'm a father to my kids now because you were the father to me that you were. I am a great husband now because I didn't see you show up in that capacity. And so he was teaching me these things, and I thought it was all hurt most of my life. Like, I viewed this as so much pain, and I hated him for so long. And then all of a sudden it was like, wow, he wasn't what I wanted, but he was what God knew I needed, because I've developed into this person now. And I had to use that structure, even though it was painful, to grow into this person who gravitates towards loving, always leading from a place of love. That's where the heart-led, soul-driven came about. It was, how do you always make decisions? If you're making a decision from your heart, by knowing that, for me, it's keeping God first, and it's making decisions based on loving other people, whether they're doing awesome or whether they're just homeless. It's meeting them exactly where they're at and loving them, seeing past everything, all the other stuff, and loving them for being a human being. Not because they have to do anything, not because they have to try anything, or it's like sometimes I'll stop somebody and I'll say, you're amazing. And they're like, one guy said, why? And one woman said, why too? Both of them. And I said, not because you're wearing makeup, not because you're wearing a perfect dress, not because you did your hair today, because you were purposely planted here. And out of 400, I mean, we had this big Mega Millions lottery. I don't know if you have it out there, but it was like 1.6 billion.
Yeah.
I was posting this morning, you've already won the lottery. Like, out of 400 million sperm, you got that lucky that if you can read this, you've already won.
Yes.
If you can see this, you've already won. Like, we have to be so grateful for this gift of life that we're given. And when you tap into that level of thankfulness, man, life becomes a different playground, It's got a lot more swing sets and a lot more bouncy castles. And it's just one of those things where people you see the pain that people are carrying. And that's where the coaching form thing came in, because I could pick up on language patterns, or I could pick up on the way people are carrying their bodies, that physiology, so to speak. And and I could it was like going straight to that source and going, oh my gosh, I wished I could tell you what this is, but you wouldn't listen to me. I've told you, you need to find it yourself. And then it's just, okay, now I've got to ask some really strategic questions to get them to have that spot where they go, oh my gosh, have I really been believing this about myself for 30 years or 50 years? And at the event, that I put a little highlight reel in there of a guy named Rob, just amazing, amazing guy. And he surfaced through some pain from his dad of that voice that he had been listening to all of his life. At one point in the event, I'm doing live coaching with him, and I said, what does that voice say? And he's like, I'm not good enough. I'm unworthy. I'm never going to be successful. All of these really despairing and negative things. And I said, what does that voice sound like? And he's like, my dad. And we don't realize, I look at my kids now, and by far they're not perfect. They mess up. They're human just like I do, because I am a master at messing things up, But I think having that perspective of going, the moment that I try to control other people's situations, much less my own, then I'm limiting my God. And that's too much control I don't want. I have a hard time. I have a hard enough time keeping my mind from the chatter and the circus, the conductor who goes, hey, listen, he's not looking. Bring the elephants out and the monkeys. You get the fire, and before I know it, I'm thinking, it was literally like me and you talked on the phone. I'm so pumped. I'm so excited. Here's how the mind works. Hey, Ryan, you probably shouldn't do that event. You won't know what to talk about.
Wow.
You'll probably forget your words. Wow. And in that moment, I heard that. I went, seriously? You just put on an event for 10 hours and you probably could have talked for 5 days straight. I think we're past that.
I love it, man. I love it, dude. This is so powerful. I really hear, when we recognize the patterns, the programming that is in us and within us, then we can really shift what we focus on, what we pay attention to start creating a new narrative, a new story. So you mentioned this guy who he became aware of the programming he had. You became aware of the programming that you had. How can our audience become aware of the programming that they might have that's keeping them stuck, that's keeping them playing small, that's keeping them, not achieving their greatness?
Oh man, great question. And I can only answer that question by telling you a story and a strategy that happened to me. And I was in the gym, and one of the headphones didn't work, right? And I got really angry about this. Like, I went to the gym, and that was kind of coming out of my shell. I was like, we're going to say hi to everybody, no matter what. To the most beautiful guy, most beautiful woman, to the buffed up guy, that doesn't talk to anybody. We're just going to say hi and good morning to everybody and try to break out of that mold. And it was interesting because one day my headphones not working, and I found myself getting really angry. And I knew that I wasn't myself. Like, I didn't feel right. So I think, if you don't feel right, like if there's pain in your body, or if you're not happy and joyful or having a really great day, that's a big indicator. That should be hey, you're out of alignment somewhere in your life. Figure that thing out. Well, for me that day, I've had to pull myself away to a corner, and I said, okay, let's coach ourselves out of this rabbit. We got to expose the rabbit, jump him out of the tunnel, and find out what this is. And I said, can you work out without you listening to music? Yes. Right. So then why are you so angry? Right. So I'm constantly asking my question, this why question. And I went, well, because I work out harder when the music's really loud and I feel this pump. And he goes, okay, so what happens if you don't feel the pump? Well, I don't feel like I'm working out real hard and I'm burning enough calories. What does that mean? There's a powerful question. Wow. First is, what does this happen? And then what does it mean? Right. And that's where you kind of dig under that you're allowing your soul to go, oh, wait, he's listening. Hey, he's figured this out. Okay. He's asking some questions, right? If we don't question ourselves, what's going on, then we don't really know. Wow. And so for me, I said, well, if I'm not working out hard enough, then I'm still going to be fat. And then the question says, what does that mean? And the surface was, well, people won't take me seriously, and I won't get clients, and nobody will think that I'm worth a crap. Wow. And I said, and something inside of me said, go further. And I went, and all of a sudden it just came up. It was like a volcano shut up. It says, I'm not worthy. I won't be loved. Like I'm scared. One speaker, one earphone going out led me to the delusion, the fear that I won't be loved because I can't work out hard and burn all this calories off, right?
Wow.
And so now we've exposed the truth that I am scared that I'm not going to be loved.
Yeah.
Now we start building it up, right? We got to build it up. And it says, okay, here's a powerful question. So here's where everything turns around. Is it true? And this was a big moment for a lot of people at the event. So I said, okay, are you sure that you won't be loved? Does your wife love you? The answer was, well, yes. Have you ever had a six-pack in your 20 years of being with her, or 24, but we've been married for 21? And the answer was no. So she's loved you as an overweight guy for more than 20 years. Yes. Okay, then that's not true. Okay. Do you have 2 kids? Yes. Do they love you? Yes. Have you always been overweight as far as they've been born? Yes. So that's not true.
Right.
So you're loved regardless.
Yeah.
Not because you have to look a certain way, not because you have to speak eloquently, not because you have to be this such amazing superstar, just because you're you. And it's exposing that lie and then asking yourself, okay, why am I feeling this way? What does it mean? And then, is it true? And you keep asking yourself, is it true, over and over and over? All of a sudden you have to kind of, it's this truth now staring at you in your face of, what am I missing here? Like these are all lies, and I've just exposed the lie for what it is. The truth is that I am as amazing as I choose to feel that I am.
Yeah.
It says, I'm as beautiful as I choose to be. I'm as sexy as I choose to be. And a lot of that was reprogramming my brain. I mean, on the front of the dashboard of my truck, I've got these cards. This one says, God is preparing me for what he's prepared for me.
Wow.
It's a 5x7 card laminated. This one says, I am attracting powerful, positive, healthy people into my life.
Yes.
You called me last week.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
This one says, everything I need will come to me at the perfect moment.
Oh.
And the other one is, Ryan, you can do this.
Yes.
Like, these are my simple strategies. But Chris, see, my mind, this chatter monkey, this circus conductor, he goes pretty deep, right? So I've got, you see how many cards?
Wow.
Like, this is like 100 5x7 cards of all of these affirmations that every day I say these things between one and three times to myself with intensity, because I know that reprogramming our brains is so important. Because, I mean, if you think about it, everything that we've been taught has been taught by our parents or grandparents or whoever raised us. And everything that they've been taught has been taught by their grandparents. And this goes back thousands and thousands of generations to the point where if you left the cave, there was a chance you may have been eaten by a saber-toothed tiger, So we've been surviving as a species forever. And we weren't created to survive. I mean, we were created to survive in a moment. But after that moment, we don't realize we didn't have someone to guide us at that point to say, hang on, that's not who you are. You protected yourself by shutting down, but open that door real quickly, because now your ego is going to build up all of these walls and insecurities. And before you know it, you have a hard time making friendships and relationships, and marriages don't work out. And all these patterns are from when we were kids.
Yeah. So it's really getting clear on what the limiting beliefs are when we get triggered. We ask that question of, why is this triggering me? Like, what is that? And why is this happening? What's coming up? And then, like, what does that mean? Like, what does that mean? Is it true? Is it true that, nobody will love me? Is it true that, I'll forever be, alone? Is it true that whatever, right? All these things, stories that people make up in their mind. But I really love how you broke it down from a broken earbud, right? Like the broken earbud, just like, and then the deeper level, the deepest level that your mind doesn't even want you to get to. It does everything. It does everything at all costs, like signal flares in the opposite direction, monkey mind, whatever, distractions, so that you won't get to that truth and expose the lie that we've bought into, that we've been believing. Because we know deep down in our soul, and you knew deep down in your soul, that you're great, you are powerful, you are perfectly designed, you are loved. and all the stories and layers on top that we had picked up, that we had accepted from our upbringing, from education, from our environment, just doesn't serve us. But deep down inside, we know that. And so I really love how you broke that down for anyone who's going through a challenge like that, just feeling like weak
Sure.
or powerless or small or less than or not enough or whatever it might be. Or just if we're out of alignment, if we're in pain, if we're unhappy, if we're drained in our energy, then there's certain ways that we're treating ourselves or talking to ourselves that are bringing us down, that are hurting us, that are really taking away our power and our greatness, like inch by inch, like chip by chip, so to speak, chipping away at our greatness, at our foundation, just because we allow it, just because we don't even know that it's happening. And I love how
Mhm.
you broke that down, man. That was super powerful. Super.
Yeah,
Really, really good.
it's funny. Most of my aha moments are at the gym and with earphones. It was because just this morning I'm sitting there and I put the earphones in right before I go to work out, and it says in the ears where the power's at 60%.
Uh-huh.
Right.
Yeah.
So what do? I immediately put them back on the charger, turn the truck on. I'm going to sit there for 15 more minutes.
Okay.
And about 5 minutes passed, and I went, whoa, hang on. I've been charging these every single night. I charge them. I know that they're ready.
Mm.
And at that moment, I put them back in my ear, and it said, charged 100%. And I thought to myself, isn't that the way our minds work? We hear, hey, we're gonna lose this weight. We're gonna go on this diet. We're gonna do this thing, and then 2 days later, or maybe an hour later, we sabotage ourselves and we go straight back to that thing because we listen to that 60%. We're only at 60% right now. You really can't do that. But if you dive into that truth and go, no, wait. I'm charged up. I'm a child of God, man. This is awesome. I'm at 100%. I can be at 100% all day, every day, man. Let's go for this, you know?
Yes.
That's where it's at.
Yes. Dude, I love it. Ryan, I love your energy, man. Your zest for life, your vitality is just, overflowing. And I love it. I love how abundant it is. I love how prosperous your energy you've cultivated. It's clear that you've cultivated, it's clear that you've cultivated this self-belief, this identity of who you are and who you get to be for everyone around you, man. So tell us more about like what were some of the biggest aha moments that you saw at the event, leading the event, running the event. What did you notice about yourself getting up there and just rocking the house, man?
It's funny because anytime, whether I'm coaching a client one-on-one or even in a group setting, much less an event style, I can coach someone and all of a sudden this stuff flows through me. Like, I don't know where it comes from, but I'm coaching myself because I'll be listening to somebody and I'll visualize an experience and I'm like, oh my gosh, where did that come from? Obviously that's telling us something. Let's pay attention a lot. Let's journal about that later. We gotta source that out. But we had some men and women have some amazing breakthroughs about what's their daily routine and what keeps their minds occupied.
Right.
And it's that chatter of, a lot of people that were at this event didn't realize, we think roughly 75,000 thoughts a day, right? This kind of blew my mind a long time ago when I read this, and just mesmerizing. 75 to 80,000 thoughts a day. 87% of those are negative, despairing, or defensive. Okay? Now here's where it gets dangerous and interesting. 78% of that 80,000, 75,000 goes completely undetected because we're running an autopilot of our subconscious mind 95% of every day. So then you go, oh my gosh, no wonder I can't do that thing or do that, that lose the weight or have the relationship or the marriage, because we keep getting sucked back into this cycle. And so that's when I started doing the affirmation cards. And a lot of people had a lot of people didn't realize that. And then we had some relationship breakthroughs, some men who, one guy, and even in the testimonial video, he said something just really powerful. He said, I didn't realize that a man's identity was wrapped up in a woman's happiness, because, as men, if we feel we can't make, and I'll follow up on that for a second, our wives happy, right, then we're nothing. Then we're nobody. Then we're what? Insignificant. Wow. And when men feel insignificant, we act like children. Yeah. I'm gonna take my ball and go home. And after 21 years of marriage, and I love my wife Tiffany very much, but I've even said it to her. Here's what it does: men act childish when they feel insignificant, and women, instead of being passionate lovers of their husbands, they act like mothers, but they treat their husbands like children. So it's
Mm.
easier to find the
Wow.
critical things and point out things that are wrong instead of saying, I'm too scared, like a communication thing. I'm too scared to love you because I don't feel like I'm lovable, or I don't feel
Mhm.
like I'm deserving, or you're at work all day. And so a lot of men came up to me and they were like, I had no idea that my security is wrapped up in thinking that I can make her happy. And then you told me that it wasn't even, I couldn't make her happy. So that was a mind blowing thing. I even
Mm.
told my son a couple months ago. He said, Mom, I'm sorry, I just can't make you happy. And I said, stop. I mean, I just shut down the whole conversation. I said, son, if you ever think that you can make your mom happy or me happy, you're fooling yourself.
Mm.
Happiness has to be found within you. There is zero possibility. You can't make your girlfriend happy. You can't make society. You can help people, allow them to feel good by
Right.
compliments, encouragement. I'm such a proponent of that.
Right.
But you can't make anyone feel happy if they don't choose to feel happy. They've got
Mm.
to find that, you know?
Yeah.
And that was probably one of the hardest things on this journey because you know what, that my passion on this journey, it stemmed from two things. One was that 3:43 in the morning thing, but the other thing is, while I was at Vanderbilt, we came home from a vacation, and the next morning, my wife goes to work. She worked in the hospital, in the medical industry,
Mhm.
and I get a phone call, and she says, "Honey, something's wrong with the car." And I
Mm.
was thinking, "Okay, what's wrong with the car?" She says, "Something's wrong with me." And I said, "Where are you at?" And I heard a knock on the window, and it was a guy who, it was an off-duty paramedic, so to
Mhm.
speak. He said, "I've been following your wife for like 5 miles, and she's blown out her tires and she's wrecked. Does she?" And I'm like, "No, she doesn't use drugs. No, she's not drunk. This, that, and other." Well, he carried her to the hospital. 3 weeks later, they diagnosed her with epilepsy.
Wow.
For the next 5 years, she had seizures, sometimes daily, sometimes it was once a week, sometimes it was 4 or 5 times a day.
Mm.
And so our life became, I mean, bless her heart, she almost, in essence, she lost her identity because in the state of Tennessee, if you're having seizures, you can't drive for 6 months. So she wasn't able to drive for 5 years. She lost her job in the medical industry because she can't be around patients having seizures. And, I was watching my wife. My heart tells me it was like watching her die because she was always, migraines were horrific, ice packs and this, that, and other. And I thought to myself, okay, I gotta out figure this thing out, and I'm getting into the coaching and this, that, and other. And she was making some good momentum with having less and less seizures. So I figured I'd do this strategy. And so for me, getting off the oxycodone, I didn't go to rehab or anything. I just developed strategies to get off all that medication, and it
Mm.
worked for me. So I'm like, okay, the next possible scenario is my wife, right? Let's just use her as a guinea pig,
Right. Right.
And but what I did was I created an environment that was so positive. So we met on the dance floor.
Mhm.
So dancing was a theme for us.
Yeah.
So what I did was I created this date night, right? And put on the music that we danced at our marriage to,
Wow.
all these good emotional, good feeling bits of music. And our thing was, we love ballroom dancing. We never been, we'd always just watched it on television or whatever.
Mhm.
And so I bought us some lessons to go do this. And I'm thinking, okay, the two things that put us in the most stressful environment are, number one, movement.
Mm.
So like we tried to exercise, just we even walking around like a park trail, she'd had a seizure.
Wow.
So I figure movement put her in a stressful situation, and so did like adding numbers. That's one
Mm.
thing, a cognitive thing that really messed with her for a while.
Mm.
So what is dancing? What is ballroom dancing? It is movement one and counting your steps constantly when you're learning.
Wow.
So I'm thinking, okay, we're either going to be the worst husband ever, or we're on to something here. You know what I mean? And so I put her in this great environment. I bought her a present. I bought her some new dancing shoes. So she opened it right before we walk in. So all of these good emotions are being, they're being anchored within her body, right? And we have the most amazing time, and we're going to dinner later. And I didn't even share this with her until like a year after it happened because I didn't want anybody to know.
Right.
But she didn't have any seizures, and she was constantly counting and stepping, counting and movement, counting and movement. So we were shifting lots of little moments into a big force of momentum.
Wow.
And that combined with CBD oil, changed the game for her, and she hasn't had a seizure since. So it's been
Wow.
so amazing to have my wife back and watching her vibrant, because she's the most amazing, loving, caring individual. But to see, I remember where she was, and that's that passion that ignited within me is I gotta outwit the mind.
Mm,
I've outsmarted my mind for the majority of the time.
mhm,
I wonder if I could really help other people.
mm. You still there, Ryan? My screen froze. Testing 1, 2, 3. Let's see if it's in my end or. Nope, looks like it's Ryan's end. Oh my gosh, I love it. Technical difficulties, everyone. Ryan will be back shortly, I'm sure. Yeah, I see that, Mark. We're getting to the finale, people. Oh man. Now you get to see me twice. Mm, mm, mm. Chill. Now I get to see what Ryan sees on his screen, like big, all big. That's funny. I'm sure he'll be back soon. But in the meantime, he is covering some amazing things. So I want to bring him back on in a second here. But my gosh, just so deep, such deep sharing, so powerful. I love how he is bringing to light how he got the passion of helping people and changing, transforming people's lives. He started doing it on his own, started working on himself, and then he started being able to make that difference and that impact for everyone around him. And what better way to start than with the people closest to him? You know, it's interesting. When I first started coaching, I was just really working on myself. You know, I just wanted to work on myself, but I also saw that there was a need to support other people. You know, other people need this information. I had done a little bit of coaching and network marketing to, you know, really grow my team and empower them and help them grow. But you know, it blossomed because I had helped myself. I had given myself purpose. I had felt the fulfillment of hitting rock bottom and turning my life around so that I can become great, so that I can become someone of value, someone who is making a difference in the world, someone who is doing something with my life. Like up until that point, I felt like I hadn't done anything significant with my life. I felt like I was a waste of space. I felt like I was a burden on the people around me. I felt like, you know, as insignificant as Ryan was talking about, and um, not being someone of consequence, feeling weak, feeling powerless. And I turned it around by really focusing on others. And that in itself was a journey, because at first I was like, oh, well, I'm supposed to focus on others. So I guess I'll focus on others because that's what all these books keep telling me: Think and Grow Rich, and How to Win Friends and Influence People, and Darren Hardy Compound Effect, and you know, all these books that teach to serve people. If you want to get rewarded, and even the Bible talks about it, if you want to get rewarded, then serve others, solve other people's problems, show up in a capacity that really adds value to other people. And at first I started off just like doing that on the surface level, doing it to look good, doing it to please the people around me, my family, to look good on paper. And then it started becoming me, you know, then it started being me. And that's why one of the things that I have a soft spot for is for people who are doing the actions on the surface or on the surface level, but not really like embodying the teachings and the wisdom. You know, people who say that someone's being inauthentic, right? Oh, well, that's inauthentic. Well, maybe deep down inside they know that they're supposed to, that they know that it feels good and it's right and important to be helping and serving others, but they just haven't gotten to that level of integration with their mind of owning it at 100% and being it and not allowing the doubts or the hesitations or the old programming doesn't serve them, the survival and the fear that got layered on top of that, maybe they haven't gotten adept or skilled at turning that around and removing that, releasing that, so they can really show up powerfully. Cody says, "Hey Chris, how have you been, brother? Dude, super duper awesome, man. Loving life, just blessed. But yeah, it's like I really have a soft spot for people who are taking the right actions, but people say, they're not really doing the right thing, or people who are modeling success and modeling others because they want something. Like in the beginning, I modeled successful people to grow a network marketing company and led my team and taught my team and did sales and showed up in sales conversations and showed up to share a product and a service to support other people. But really deep down inside, or what I believed, was that I wanted these things. I wanted the house. I wanted the car. I wanted the $1 million. And so that was my driver. That was my why. But deep down inside that, like that was also, so that was on top. There's lots of levels, right? On the very surface level, it's to help people. Okay, cool. Chris, you're a great guy. And deep down inside, I know that my motivations are really selfish. And deep underneath that, the motivation for that is because I'm afraid. I'm afraid I'm like really like not enough. So I want the house and the car and all these things. And below that feeling of insignificance and worthlessness is the true essence, is the expansion of love, is the feeling of wholeness and completeness and possibility and soul expansion. So I really think it's interesting how people judge others based on their motives on the surface. And I believe that we're all here to learn. We're all here to be on an experience. Our souls have our own journeys and paths, and to really have compassion and grace for other people who seemingly are doing it in an inauthentic way, because we recognize authenticity, we recognize truth, we recognize when someone is in alignment with their soul and their purpose. And I believe it's our journey to heal our own self, to heal our own deepest layers of shame and guilt and regret, is to have that compassion and grace for others so that they can show up doing their best. And everyone's doing their best. Like it's one of the beliefs that I think successful people have, is that everyone is doing the best that they can, the best that they know how. Because if they knew how to do better, they would change their beliefs, they would change their mindset, they would show up in a different way. And so a lot of people don't know. They don't know that they don't know. They're unconscious. Or if they do know, they're aware, they're consciously incompetent. They know that they don't know, and they just aren't willing. They don't have the motivation. They don't have the desire. They don't have the drive. They don't have the mentorship, the coaching, the guidance to be able to transform that. People who are suffering, living in a scarcity mindset, thinking they need to, stab people in the back or do crazy stuff like that to get ahead and hurt others to get ahead, they don't know any better. Or if they do know better, they just haven't cultivated. They haven't been shown the way. They haven't had someone who cares about them enough to show them the way on how to be someone different. Or if there was someone who showed them the way and said, hey, you don't have to do this, you can be someone different, they weren't bought in. The communication didn't land. It didn't plant its seed in their soul so that they could truly show up as that great, good person. And I think today, with so much information and choices and resources on how to be that good person, on how to be a good human being, there's a lot less of that going on. There's a lot less of the sly, sneaky, slimy kind of people, because there's so many opportunities, resources to grow, and someone who gets successful today is someone who has to be on that growth path, who has to be developing themselves. And I believe anyone who is developing themselves in the path, people who become successful are going to learn what it means to be a good human being, what it means to have a good character, what it means to show up in integrity and authenticity. Ryan, you're back, brother.
Yes, it's just a quick bathroom break. I figured I'd shut down the internet in the neighborhood. I have no idea what happened. That's just, I was on to something. I was fixing to drop some gold and somebody didn't want to. So
you've been dropping gold this whole time, man. It has been absolutely exquisite, man. So really, I appreciate everything that you've been sharing. And I was just talking about how on our journey, it's all about showing up, like you said in the beginning. And in the beginning, you might not know why you're showing up. You showed up for yourself. You got motivated for yourself to heal yourself. And then you're like, hey, there's another person, my wife, the person I love the most, who I want to support, who I want to help, who I want to, give her healing and give her hope and give her freedom, because she doesn't deserve to be trapped by these conditions, by these circumstances. So you showed up, and then through that you discovered, man, if I can help myself, if I can help her, I can really help a lot of people. And it's funny how those ideas become planted in us, and then they birth and they sprout, and then we become them to become a force of good, a force of healing, a force of serving, God or the universe or source creator, whatever we want to call it. It's so awesome how that evolves. I was just marveling at that.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is where the Heart Led Soul Driven brand came from. And that's where it's just teaching people. It was, the driven, it's heart led, making decisions from your heart. But at the event, we break it down, and driven, what soul driven stands for is discovering the truth, and then recognizing those patterns of behavior that don't serve you. And then it's igniting that confidence. So if you discover what's holding you back, then you can recognize it. Then all of a sudden you've got some momentum, Coach. So you've got this confidence about yourself, right? So you're igniting that. Then you're visualizing what your future, and you're spending some time doing that. Then you're having this experience with other people at this event or with the coaching process. You're actually experiencing this newfound, like what I'm experiencing, this newfound freedom of life, right? Yeah. And then it's about networking, which is really support. Who are you surrounding yourself with is so important. Are you hanging out with people who are positive, who are building you up, who are encouraging you to be better and to dream and not have limits or any of that other stuff? And so that's what the driven is. It's soul driven, heart led, soul driven, and that's what the event's about. That's what my coaching is about. And it's just I'm living my dream and I'm living my passion because it's not about me. It's about serving other people.
Yeah, 100%, man. You're living it, and like you said, God had another purpose for you to use you as a vessel, as a messenger, as an example of where you can start and what can happen, life circumstances, getting knocked off track, and then where you can end up, which is a beautiful, beautiful place that we are today, man. So I want people to know how they can stay connected with you, how they can take those next steps, how they can continue their journey with you, because this has been a phenomenal interview. I love your personality, your soul, your storytelling, your ability to convey a message. It's super profound, and people can go even deeper with your coaching, with staying connected with you, having conversations. So tell them how they can do that, man.
Absolutely. So if you go to either Ryan Krech or Ryan Krech Coaching or the event page, heartledsouldriven.com, you can find out all the information there. We've got some courses designed up. We're actually going to put some events on, because the day that the Heart Led Soul Driven event came to pass, the other ones came back too. It was Pedicure for the Soul, which was an all women's event.
Wow.
And then it was an all men's event, right? Yeah. And then I was like, we can't leave the kids out. So it's getting the kids, middle school and high school. It's about creating self-esteem and teaching them the truth about themselves instead of what society is now throwing at them right now. And so it's really hitting all the genres. It's hitting the kids' self-esteem, and then it's one for women and one for men, and then the big part of it is heart-led, soul-driven. But yeah, heartledsouldriven.com and ryancrutchcoaching.com. That's where they can find it. And I just love to help as many people as I can, Yeah. It only took me 44 years to figure out it. I guess the way I look at it is some people need a little bit more time to work on their testimony, which is me, to figure that thing out, right?
Yeah. That's awesome, man. I love it, Ryan. You're an incredible human being, and anyone who is in your presence and your energy and your wisdom and just your zest for life, your just happiness, man. It's joy, and I really, really feel it and resonate with it. And anyone who's fortunate enough to experience that is super blessed. And it's not like they have to cross oceans to get to you. You're right there. You're right at people's fingertips. You're a message away. You're a conversation away. You're an event away. So I really, really acknowledge you for making yourself available, for connecting with these people, and for showing up. And everyone, definitely stay connected with Ryan. He is one to freaking watch. He's blown up in just an amazing, heart-led, soul-driven human being. So Ryan, thank you so much for coming on today, dude.
Thank you,
you're
Chris.
powerhouse.
You're awesome, dude.
Powerhouse.
Awesome.
Awesome, dude. So have the best day ever, and we will see you very soon, okay?
I appreciate you, buddy.
Appreciate you too. Take care.